Well, hello everyone. I am thrilled to introduce you to a really good friend of mine and the executive pastor for the South Tulsa location of LifeChurch. His name is Greg Pinkston. Thank you for being with me, Greg.
Oh, absolutely, Heather. I'm honored. This is a real honor that you even asked me to be a part of this, so thank you.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So we're going to get straight into it. Question number one, share about a leader who's influenced the way you lead.
Well, when I saw that question, it immediately sparked my memory back to, I could call him a leader, a friend, a mentor, a pastor. He was all of those things to me. His name's Terry. And what really stood out to me about Terry was he was there when I was going through one of the toughest parts of my life, my divorce, years and years ago. And it was his couch that I slept on, his daughter who had gone off to college. I got to have her bedroom for about a week or two until I could get back on my feet. And I remember asking him one time, because he was so important in my life, it was easy for me to want to put him on a pedestal and hold him up as this standard of perfection. And I asked him, I said, Terry, how do you keep from letting people do that? Because none of us are perfect.
Right.
And he told me, he said, you know, Greg, people will try to do that. They'll hand you that ball, and it's up to you whether or not you pick it up. And so I learned from him the importance of showing your flaws, not trying to pretend like you have it all together, because none of us do.
I really like that.
Yeah, and the more I can connect with people through mistakes I've made, even recent things that I've done. Pastor Craig Groeschel likes to say that people will follow a leader who's authentic. They'd rather have a leader that's authentic and true than one that's always right.
Yeah.
And Terry really helped me see that, and so that's something that I learned from him. It's really impacted how I connect with people and how I try to lead.
That is such a great leadership principle. I love it. Okay, going on, thinking about your experience as a manager, what are your thoughts about introverts and extroverts? And you can share a little bit about what you do,
Sure.
if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. I lead the team here at South Tulsa. So I've got, depending on what time of the year, where we are in the season, anywhere from 6 to 12 people that report to me. And so, and part of what we do here at LifeChurch is we look at StrengthsFinder. We look at Myers-Briggs personalities. And so we all know each other's personality profiles and all that. So introvert and extrovert is very much a part of our language. And I think what I've learned about that over the years is that it's less about whether or not you like people. I am a Myers-Briggs introvert, and I still like people. It's not about liking people. It's about understanding your what gives you energy or what drains energy from you. And so knowing that I'm an introvert, I have to know what situations I'm going to have to lead through that are going to give me energy and what situations I have to lead through that will drain energy from me. I can't simply choose to do something because it fits within my natural giftings. I'm going to have to do things that are outside of my strengths sometimes, and that's just a part of life and leadership. And so what I try and lead others to do and what I do in my own life is look at the horizon of what I have coming up and understand which of these things are going to add to my energy level and which are going to drain me, and schedule things accordingly so that if I know I have an event coming up that I need to be at and I need to be at my best, but it's going to require a lot of energy, it's going to drain energy from me, I'll schedule some time on the front end to just make sure I fill that bucket up, and I'll schedule some time on the back end of that, because I don't have the option of just going, oh, I'm not going to do that because it doesn't come naturally to me.
I really like that. That's so important. Very good. So you kind of answered the question about what things you've done to engage those types of people at work. Okay. So what personal qualities do you think have served you best as a manager? And have there been any personal traits in particular that you've had to work to develop while you're in your new leadership role?
Absolutely. I talk about StrengthsFinder and Myers-Briggs. Another tool that we use is emotional intelligence. So the EQI 2.0, we use that quite a bit. And the very first time I took that assessment, it came back as empathy was my lowest score.
Oh no.
Yeah, exactly, right. Just imagine if you worked for me at that time. It wasn't great. And so I started really investing a lot of time and energy into the role that empathy has in leadership. And there's some great stuff out there, great work that's been done on that. And I learned that as cliche as the phrase is, people don't know how much, or don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I've heard that, but it finally really clicked with me that there's truth in that. That it's more than just a cliche, it's true. And so what I've learned is, I learned I had to develop that. That was going to be, the degree to which I could empathize with someone would be the cap to which I could lead them.
Oh, that's really good.
You can lead people out of a state of fear, you can lead people out of a state of admiration. There are a lot of different things that will cause someone to follow you. but those things are going to be very temporary because at some point I'll fail. Yeah. If I'm basing my leadership on fear, then at some point they're going to choose to do something else. They'll run the other way. Yeah. But if I base my leadership on empathizing with people, then what happens is a connection occurs. And no matter where we're leading to, because there are going to be times where I have to sit across from somebody and have a really difficult conversation about their job performance. Right. It doesn't necessarily change where the conversation goes to, but it paves the road of how we're going to get there. Yeah. And it changes my mindset from not just how do I get to this point, but what's this person going through? Right. And how can I connect with them and understand a little bit better about what their world looks like? Because I don't have the full picture. Right. No matter what I see, yeah. I don't see it all. Right. And so what I've learned, and some characteristics or skills I've learned to develop empathy, yeah. One is asking a lot of questions, right. And then really listening to the answers, because it's easy to ask questions and just already think of what my next question is going to be. Oh, I'll ask this one, then I'll ask that one, then I'll ask that one.
Asking to answer instead of asking to listen.
To actually listen, right.
Yeah.
And so once I learned the ability to ask the question and really listen to their response, and I look for and I'll continue to ask questions until I can empathize with them, because I may not understand right off the front, yeah. But we may not have gone through the exact same situations before, but I can tell when someone's going through some sort of a hurt or loss. I've gone through hurt and loss, and we can connect around that. If someone's dealing with stress in their family or medical issues in their family, I may not have gone through those exact things, but I can have situations in my life that I can reflect back to, yeah. And I can actually empathize with someone, even though I haven't been in the exact same shoes they're in. I can find a point of connection, and when you're able to do that, your leadership equity with them goes so much farther than fear or admiration or intimidation or any of the other tactics that are out there. And not all of them are bad tactics, right. But they're just not going to be as long lasting as empathy will be.
That is really helpful. I love it.
Thank you.
All right, next. Do you have a system or process in place for confronting workplace behaviors that are in conflict with the working environment you desire? This is a fun question.
Right. This is that job performance thing where you got to sit across from somebody and talk about their job performance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And when I saw this question, it's interesting. I hadn't really thought about it as a system or a process, so I actually made some notes on it to look at here in a second.
I love that.
But
yes.
The most basic thing I would say is deal with it directly and deal with it quickly.
Yep.
And so the book Radical Candor has really helped shape that for me. Okay. And what they talk about in that book is the intersection of caring deeply and challenging directly. I've got to be able to both care for someone and at the same time challenge them. If I only challenge them but I don't care, I'm a jerk. Yeah. If I only care but I never challenge them, then they're not going to grow. Right. And I'll avoid confrontation when I need to really engage in it.
That's really good.
So challenge directly and care deeply are the things I kind of look at, and that all came from Radical Candor.
Yeah.
So when I think about an actual system or a process, here are some of the things I think about. First off, I start with, before I even have this interaction with them, I think for myself, what do I actually know to be true about this situation? Mm-hmm. Because it's really easy for me to imply things. It's really easy for me to fill in the blanks with something else. And so I can notice that someone's not speaking up in a staff meeting, and I might think, well, they're not paying attention. Yeah. When the reality is maybe they don't have something to share about that. Or maybe they're going through something at home. And so I've had to learn that, no, really all I know about this is they didn't answer that question. They didn't speak up in that situation.
Don't make assumptions attached to it.
Exactly. And it's so easy to do that.
So easy to do that.
So I asked myself, okay, what do I absolutely know to be true? What are the facts of the situation? Mm-hmm. So I start there. And once I know that, I try to determine, okay, is what I'm feeling, is it a discord of preference or a discord of actual culture and truth, absolutes? Mm-hmm. Because there's a lot of times where someone may do something differently than I do it, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. They're wired differently, and they may actually do things far better than I would have done them. Yeah. So I always look at, okay, is what I'm about to engage in, is it worth engaging in? Because they might just have a different preference, mm-hmm. and God has put that person in the seat they're in to do things the way He's wired them to do it. So maybe they've got something better planned than I had. Right. So I also look at what's preference versus what's truth. And then if there are 2 or 3 people on the team involved in this, somebody comes to me and says, hey Greg, so-and-so is really dropping the ball on this. Yeah. Before I confront that person, or instead of me just confronting that person, what I'll say is, okay, let's sit down and talk about that. The 3 of us will sit down and talk.
That's so good.
Having the right people in that conversation.
Principle
it is. Yeah, it really is. It's based in Scripture. The idea of having the right people in it, because what I've learned is it's incredibly inefficient not to.
Yeah.
If I just get your story and then I go to someone else and I get their story and then I come back to you and get your story, if we can just all sit down together and go, hey, let's talk about what's going on here. It helps people strip away some of that angst that they may feel and really get to the core of things. And then the final thing there is, once I've determined that if what they're doing is outside of culture, I confront it quickly and directly.
Yeah.
And so, and with empathy, just like I'll ask questions. So help me understand why you made the choice that you made in that situation. Yeah. And it shows that I'm not coming in to say I know it all.
Right.
I want to understand your point of view, and I want to provide correction to that. I want to say, and I may actually decide in that situation of, you know what they were doing really wasn't that far outside of culture. Or, no, let me help you understand why that's wrong. Yeah. And so I confront it directly, quickly, to make sure it gets confronted.
You're
corrected.
Awesome. Those are such great points. Thank you for being with us, Greg.
Thank you, Heather.
So appreciate you.
Thank you very much.